So for those of us who don't know you, can you tell us who you are and how long you've been in real estate?
Yeah, well, I originally came to Australia in 1971, February 10th to be precise. I've been living in the same area for around about almost 44 years, and I was in public transport for a long time, and I've been in real estate. I've been buying and selling real estate since 1976, but professionally for over 20 odd years.
From previous conversations that we've had, you speak a lot about your father making big sacrifices, coming to Australia. How do you think that impacted you as a young adult, making such a big change?
Yes, my dad actually did sacrifice a lot. Actually, when he first came, he didn't like it at all because we didn't have our curries and all this sort of thing. It was a totally different concept here. It was just the usual 3 veg and meat and all this sort of thing. But Dad actually wasn't. I was more positive about the country. I actually loved it. Wouldn't go back at all, except for a holiday. Love Australia, and it took me 27 years to actually go back to Sri Lanka, where I originally come from. So yeah, love the country.
And how do you think it impacted you growing up?
It impacted me where I actually took the positives out of the country. I knew that there was a lot of opportunity here, and I've taken it by the scruff of the neck and actually made a go of things. And I think a lot of people should do that because it is an opportunistic country.
Yeah. And how has it changed since you first landed here?
Since it first landed, I think the country has become a bit darker. There's more Asians that are coming. I'm Asian as well, but I reckon it's great. Multiculturalism is fantastic, providing we all respect each other's cultures and nick a bit off that. Actually, it's great, and that comes down to the curries and all those sorts of things that interweave all of us.
Do you think the event of your family coming here, do you think there was anything there that, looking back now, made you a better sales agent? Was there a defining moment coming here where you thought?
Not really. I've always been, I suppose, a comedian right from the start, and I make friends just in 2 seconds. So I've not had that problem. Coming over here, I was simulated with people, let it be black, white, or otherwise. It didn't make much difference who it was. My sense of humor is very, I suppose, for want of a better term, crass in a way. But I'm never politically correct either. And I feel that this is of course a political statement, I suppose, we need to sort of, what would you call it, build a bridge and get over things.
And did you ever think as a kid that you were going to be in real estate? Did you ever think you were going to be in sales?
Not when you're growing up in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is more, at that time anyway, was more survival. You're looking at what you could actually, what sort of work you could get, and that's your first point of, first point that you're trying to get. Actually, you try and get a job. Real estate, I didn't even know what real estate was at that time because I came here when I was, I think, just on 17. So it was more survival mode, looking at my father and all this sort of thing. So yeah.
And growing up in Sri Lanka, that made you resilient, would you say?
Actually, yes, it would. Yeah, I think anyone who is born in a third world country becomes resilient because they know what the hardships are. And I think that's one of the reasons why I personally, we talk about myself here, which I like doing sometimes, would actually, we appreciate the country. You'll find that most of the migrants who come here appreciate the country because of what the opportunities that we get and we would not have got over in probably our own countries.
So why did it take so long to go back?
Because I was making a base here. As you know, the foundation to a good construction is your foundation, and that's what I was doing because I knew that I was not going back from a very early age. This was going to be my country, and I don't believe in having one foot in each country because when you have your legs wide open, what happens is you're in a very vulnerable position. So that's basically what it is. Yeah.
And obviously you met your wife here in Australia?
Yes, yeah. It was, well, actually, the funny part is she was 13, I was 17, and we were distantly related. I suppose a family is a bit incestuous in a way, but, that's a different matter. No, she was, her dad was actually married her dad's brother was married to my mom's auntie, but I didn't know her in Sri Lanka. So it was unfortunate here for her that she met me, but that's a different situation. We've been married for 40 years actually, so it's a long time.
So you didn't know when you were in Sri Lanka, you didn't know you wanted to be in real estate. So when did that change? When did you know that was it unplanned coming into real estate?
It was unplanned. I had the gift of the gab, but what happened was when I did leave the public transport, I was actually working with AMP as a financial advisor, and I did very badly at it. It was very hard for me to sell something that people couldn't see, and my boss over there actually said, "Why don't you try real estate?" So which I did, and I haven't looked back.
Right. And was he a big influence in your life?
Not really. I suppose looking at the changes he would be, but no, not really. I didn't know him. His name was Bob Franks. I didn't really know him that well, but he was a straight shooter, and I.
It was more of a trigger than anything.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So in all the years of real estate, was there something that was extremely was there an unforgettable moment that just that stuck with you and still makes you laugh today? So if there is a story that's stuck with you that you'll never forget, that on the brink of peeing your pants.
Well, yes, it was. There was a story. It is more on a R-rated thing, I suppose, up to a certain extent. But I'll keep it clean. I rang.
It can be as explicit as.
Okay, all right. I actually I was taking this gentleman around. Those days we used to drive our buyers around, and I found out in my captive audience what happened was I knew that he could spend another $50,000 or $60,000 more. So I told him that there was this really nice house that I could show him, which he doesn't have to do anything, so he can spend that budget on it. So I rang my vendor up, and I said, I can't remember her name. I think her name was Rachel, and I rang her and said, look, she didn't answer, but it was a machine that took the message, and left a message on a machine saying, if it's inconvenient for you, let me know, because I've got a client here that I'm going to bring there in about 5 minutes. And she didn't ring me back, so of course I went there, took the key, let myself in, which we had the key safe at that time, and I could see it was a two-story house, and I could see all these garments leading up the staircase, bras, trousers, undergarments, all this sort of thing. And I thought, oops. So I asked my client to stay outside, and I, basically noisily went up the stairs. And I now remember her name. Her name was Chantel, actually, not Rachel. And I could hear her shouting, "Trevor, don't come up. It's inconvenient at the moment." So I said, "Yeah, okay, Chantel. What I'll do is I'll close up and just let me know when you're ready." So, and that's one of my funniest moments. It's never gone out of my mind. And there's something else, another story as well, which I actually won't bother saying.
We have time.
You have time?
We have time.
Okay, this one was, we were selling this lady's house. She must have been, I suppose, 60s. And she had the plumber doing some work there for her, because there was something wrong with the plumbing. But obviously, with the house plumbing, that was when I actually went there, again I left a message and she wouldn't answer, and the message was, I'm coming there in about 15 minutes. If it's inconvenient, let me know. So I called back. So I went there with my client, and the windows were open, and obviously the plumber was clearing up her plumbing in view of everyone else. with the windows open, and that was a bit of a, actually, me being dark, of course, I turned maroon because I could not turn red. So, and that's what happened to me. So it's two of the things that actually stick in my mind, so.
And just to wrap this up, one last question is, what's the best advice that's ever been given to you? And when did you realise that you had already implemented that advice?
Always be straight. You say what you have to say. And I always believe that if someone takes offense to what they say, it's their problem. Because I feel that offense is what would you call it? It's a choice that you take or you make. So I don't take offense to anything, and I do believe that right from the start I've always known that it's you can let things go, and you don't have to make a big issue out of things. But I think honesty with your clients is huge. As it is, I've got a lot of return clientele because of that. It's very hard to make money when you're at the start, especially if you're starting off in real estate, to be honest. But if you can go through that barrier of waiting for things to come in, being honest, it pays on the long run. And real estate is a career, not a hit and run game. So. And
who gave you that advice?
Look, I actually picked it up from several people. It's in my nature as well, and it's very. I can't actually put a finger on it, but I know the college that I went to were very heavy on honesty. They didn't mind if you did the wrong thing, but as long as you did, own up to it and suffer the consequences. So I think that was implemented in my college, which was St. Thomas's College, Mount Luania, Sri Lanka. It's one of the best colleges in Sri Lanka. So, that basically was it, really.
And if you could give any advice to someone starting out, what would it be?
Honesty. You help your clients, and that goes for anyone actually, not only in real estate, just in general life. You help people you can. You don't need to do it in the name of anyone. You just help them as much as you can. And you'll find that the reward is actually the inner feeling is great, helping people, and if you get rewards on the external rewards, that's fantastic as well.
And a sub question to that question is, what kind of advice would you give to someone that's starting out, that's about to give up on real estate?
Giving up on real estate means that you actually are not, what's the word for it? You're not geared for it. Usually you'll find that if you are a real estate person and you love real estate is actually love. You help people, and especially if you're new on the job, you haven't had that feeling of people actually gaining from your knowledge and your experience and your advice. But down the road, you'll find that all that comes back, 2, 3, 4 fold, and it's a real reward. I would not. It's doing the basic stuff at the moment. You do the hard yakka, and you will be rewarded for your persistence. That's basically it. Yeah.
Perfect, Trevor. Thanks so much, man.
Anytime. Would you like to do another interview at all? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.